A wealthy businessman stood helpless on a lonely highway, his luxury Mustang hissing under the afternoon sun. He'd built empires, managed millions, yet couldn't fix a simple car. Then came a little girl, no older than 10, with confident hands and calm eyes. She didn't hesitate. She opened the hood and got to work. He watched in disbelief as she did what his money couldn't buy. But when the light caught the small pendant around her neck, something inside him froze. It was more than just jewelry. It was a painful reminder of his past mistake. Watch till the end. Wait a second. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Richard Hale prided himself on control. A self-made millionaire with a reputation for perfection, he believed in efficiency rather than emotion. On his drive through rural Alabama to inspect a new factory site, his Mustang suddenly sputtered and died on the open road. No service, no help in sight. He slammed the door, cursing the middle of nowhere he was stuck in. Then, from across the quiet fields, a red pickup rolled closer. Out jumped a young girl, Maya, wearing a red flannel shirt and blue jeans, her hair tied back, toolbox in hand. She couldn't have been more than 10 or 11, yet her movements were purposeful. "Need help?" she asked with a calmness beyond her years. Richard hesitated. He was used to experts, not children. But with no choice and no signal, he stepped aside. What could go wrong? He had no idea this meeting would haunt him for years. Maya climbed up to inspect the Mustang's engine, her small hands steady, eyes sharp. Richard watched, shifting awkwardly in his suit. He'd built companies, employed hundreds, yet somehow felt oddly powerless beside this child. The sound of her tools tapping echoed against the silent plains. Within minutes, she identified the issue, a disconnected fuel hose, and fixed it with ease. When the car came to life, Richard blinked in astonishment. "Who taught you this?" he asked, still in disbelief. She smiled shyly, saying her mom used to be a mechanic before the local factory shut down years ago. That word, factory, hit him like a wave. He suddenly remembered the decision his board had made, closing a struggling plant in this very county to cut losses. He'd signed off without a second thought, calling it a business move, but to these people, it hadn't been business. It was life. As Maya stepped back, wiping her hands, her necklace slipped out from beneath her shirt. It was a small pendant, handcrafted from a scrap of metal, shaped like a gear with the initials J.H. crudely engraved. Richard's breath caught. He knew those initials. Years ago, a woman named Julia Hale, no relation, had written him a letter, begging not to close the plant, saying her daughter dreamed of becoming an engineer someday. He never replied. Now that his daughter stood right in front of him, unknowingly fixing the car of the man who had destroyed her mother's livelihood, the world seemed to blur. Richard's heart pounded as guilt settled deep in his chest. Maya noticed his trembling hand as he stared at the pendant. "Mom made it for me," she said softly. "It's from the old factory. She says it reminds her that broken things can be fixed if you care enough." Her words pierced him. He realized she wasn't just fixing cars, she was fixing what life had broken. And he, unknowingly, had been the one who caused it. His empire had cost families their futures, and this small girl was living proof. He tried to speak, but no words came. The irony was too heavy. The child of that decision was now helping the same hands that had signed away her mother's job. That night, Richard couldn't sleep. The image of Maya's determined face and her pendant haunted him. For the first time in years, he felt ashamed, not for losing money, but for losing humanity. Weeks later, he returned to Alabama, not in his Mustang, but in a truck filled with equipment and supplies. He found Maya and her mother living modestly and offered something unexpected, a new start. Together, they reopened a small mechanic training center, funded entirely by his company. At the entrance hung a sign shaped like a gear, the same design as Maya's pendant, with words engraved beneath. For every hand that fixes what others break. Richard finally understood wealth wasn't what you kept, it was what you repaired. What would you have done if you were in his place? Where are you watching from? Take care.